So Southampton are on course to be the worst ever Premier League side. After sacking Russell Martin, Ivan Juric has come in and he's doing just as bad of a job. Their underlying stats show that they're dreadful and they can't buy a win for anything right now. So Southampton were quite an established side in the Premier League. They had managers like Ronald Koeman, Mauricio Pochettino, who led the club to glory. Ralph Hasenhüttl ultimately was the manager who had the poorest season with them. Nathan Jones came in and he couldn't quite keep them up, and last season Russell Martin came in from Swansea and they went up through the playoffs. They didn't exactly play the most convincing attacking football. It was very much possession, but it got them promotion. And this season, at the start of it, people were saying that Russell Martin's football wasn't going to translate to the Premier League. People were saying that it was going to go back down. They weren't wrong. And we had a case study of teams who came up to the Premier League trying to play attacking, possession-based football from what they did in the Championship and it not working. Daniel Fox Norwich comes to my mind, and Vincent Kompany's Burnley comes to my mind as well, a team that got relegated just last season. Exactly halfway through the season, they sacked Russell Martin and they was on 6 points after 19 matches. The confidence of the team was absolutely shot and the next result felt few and far away. Their only wins with Russell Martin was Everton at home and Ipswich away. So it was teams both in that relegation fight at the time, especially Everton, who have now dragged themselves out of it with David Moyes, but they couldn't get results against teams from like 14th above and still can't. And there's a common theme with newly promoted sides where as the season goes on, their results go from, narrow 1 or 2-0 losses to just being 3-4, 5-0 or 5-1 demolitions. They've also had the fair share of injuries. In one of their matches, they had a centre-back trio of Joe Aribo, Bednarek and James Bree. I think that centre-back trio would struggle in the Championship, never mind against Premier League teams. And most recently, Southampton lost 3-0 against Wolves. The side who was most likely to drop into that relegation zone, they're now like 10 points ahead of it. So it looks like the promoted 3 from last season, once again, are going to be the relegated 3. And from start to finish, this season for Southampton, whichever way you look at it, has been a complete shit show because they've not really built for the future of any of the signings that they've made. Before when they got relegated last time, they at least had a few signings like Shea Charles and Lavia who came in and they actually made money on them. And reports are that Juric wants to stay until the end of the season and obviously carry on for next season in the Championship. But they've got Crystal Palace next, then they've got Tottenham Hotspur, then they've got Aston Villa, then they've got West Ham, then they've got Fulham. In those 5 games, realistically, you want him to be getting 4 to 6 points because Crystal Palace at home is a match where they could get a point or a win. Tottenham away, Tottenham can be a bit flaky, but potentially a point. Aston Villa at home is a tough one. West Ham away is a tough one, but Potter hasn't necessarily done amazing things with them since he's come. And Southampton versus Fulham is a match where Southampton could really be getting a win at home. And after that, it's a relegation fight for 2 teams who are going to be relegated anyway. It's Leicester away. And could they get a win? They could potentially get a win. But Juric really has to prove a point of saying, right, we're relegated, but I'm going to take this team down fighting. We're not going to beat Derby County's lowest record points total of 11 points, which, by the way, Southampton look to be on course to beat. And he wants to find out the players who really want to be around next season for a promotion fight. And coming on to that point, Derby got 11 points. Southampton currently sit on 9 points. They're on minus 49 goal difference. Southampton's record right now is worse than what Derby County's was in that 07-08 season. And that team is just a meme team. You look at this Southampton team, there's a few decent players in there. Ramsdale or Bazunu in net are not bad options, but their defence isn't full of awful players. Kyle Walker-Peters was holding his own in the Premier League for like half a decade until they got relegated. There's players like Harwood Bellis, who's a young up-and-coming centre-back who's had a couple of good Championship seasons. Jack Stevens' experience, Bednarek's experience. Now look at the midfield. They've got Aribo, they've got Flynn Downs, they've got a youngster in Diblin, they've got Matias Fernandez. They've got some decent players on the books. In the season that they've had, as calamitous as it's been, they shouldn't be doing as bad as they are. They should be a bit more competitive. The club isn't awfully run. It's just that the Premier League's very, very competitive. They got relegated and all of a sudden the squad got turned over a bit. But I do think, as I say, some of the recruitment in the summer was poor. Cameron Archer, for what was about 20 million, was a poor signing. Sheffield United fans could tell you from last season. Leslie Oguchukwu came in on loan from Chelsea, and he's not exactly the greatest midfielder. They also loaned out a pair of players in January who could have made an effect in the second half of the season. Adam Armstrong went on loan to West Brom and he's scoring goals in the Championship, And the same with Ben Brereton Diaz, who they loaned out to Sheffield United. And admittedly, they weren't doing very well with Southampton, especially Brereton Diaz, who barely got any game time. But it's two players who know how to find the back of the net, they know how to play a counter-attacking style of football, and they were just shipped out. And to be honest, there's managers like Steve Cooper on the market and Sean Dyche on the market right now, who I don't know much about this Ivan Juric bloke. He's not sold himself, and apparently is one of these managers who, with a good pre-season, can be really effective. But why should he have to stay until pre-season if he's having such a poor time with Southampton? He's got 3 points in what is over 10 matches now with them. It's absolutely woeful. So down in the comments, let me know, 1, is Ivan Juric going to stay for the Championship next season? And 2, is Southampton going to beat Derby County's record of 11 points? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you want next video to be on, because I'm not too sure yet, so you'll have to let me know. But until next time, thank you very much for watching.